Good morning, one and all. Myself, T. Pushparaj. I am working as assistant professor in MC department, and I am working here for PSNA for more than 8 years. And today, for this video lecture, I am going to discuss the area called software engineering. In that, we are going to see one title called the software process lifecycle models. Software process lifecycle models. And for that, as an agenda, we are going to see this all parts today. First of all, we are going to start with the introduction. Next, we are going to start with the definition of software engineering. And third, we are going to see the valuable points about an SDLC. It is to be considered more important to be in SE. And the kinds of software, what are the kinds of software people used. And third, the qualities of software that we discussed about 4 qualities. And finally, the types of software lifecycle models. Nearly, we are going to see 10 models today, right? Let me start one by one. Introduction. What is software? What is meant by a software? A software is a product. Simply we say, a software is a product. A software is a vehicle to carry other product. For example, we say, there are many kinds of softwares available that may be categorized into 2 broad categories. One is system software, another one is application software. A system software that maybe controls the other application software. The best example of system software is an operating system or OS. The OS is a software of software. But if you take an application software, there we list it out all the automation softwares, like whatever application softwares like front-end tools and back-end tools, these are all comes under this application software. The examples are, if you take VB, Visual Basic, if you take Java, if you take PHP, these are all comes under the category called front-end. If you take back-end softwares like Oracle, MySQL, and these are all comes under the category called the back-end software. So these are the varies of back-end and front-end softwares. So first of all, what is the real benefit? What is the thing we can do it from the software engineer? First of all, the software engineer's role is to prepare or to develop a product, right? So the software need to be reached 3 peoples, or simply we say in a short form called 3 P's. 3 P's. The first P tends to people. The second P tends to process, and the last P is applicable for to tell about, or it tends to the product. So first of all, if the person are in need, or if a consumer are in need, or the customer are in expected need, for that they are accessing the concern and the processing is going on, then finally they release a product. Here the product we call it as a software. So this is about the level we need to be noticed to complete the product or complete the software. So the types of software we discussed so far. Then what is the definition of software engineering? A software engineering is a discipline, and we apply an engineering discipline towards any work or towards any task for to accomplish a good well-versed task to get the best benefit of the software. Normally we say a software engineering, if I apply a disciplined way, or if I apply a systematic way, or if I apply a managerial way in a proper aspect, then we can get the well-formed or good format of software. That is why we apply a software engineering here. So the definition is, the practicalities of software is purely developed by the means of software engineering. That's the thing we are going to highlight here. Then what is this part? That is pinpoint of SDLC. So far we covered 2 things: the introduction about software, then the definition of software engineering. Then what is the pinpoint of SDLC? The abbreviation of SDLC we called as software development lifecycle. In that, we are going to divide the categories of 5 phases. One is analysis, another one is design, and third one is implementation, fourth one is testing, and fifth one is maintenance and review. In analysis, what are things we can do now? The third thing we are going to see today is about the pinpoints of SDLC. That is about the SDLC and its life cycle. Normally we call this SDLC as a process development life cycle, or product development life cycle, or software life cycle, or product life cycle, whatever means we can say. So that is categorized under these 5 phases, that is analysis, design, implementation, testing, maintenance and review. That's the thing also we are going to see very soon. Then the fourth part we are going to see today is about the kinds of software. For 2 peoples, for 2 set of personals, for 2 set of peoples, the software is developed. One is bespoke, B-E-S-P-O-K-E, bespoke, and what we call as generic peoples. Two kinds of peoples use a software. One is generic people, another one is bespoke kind of people. The generic people can accept a product, or the product can use them, or the product can use it for all purposes. It is not for a specific purpose. What is about the bespoke kind is, it is only applicable for a specific purposes. So that is the kind we are going to see about the software. Then the next thing we are going to see about the qualities of software. What are the good qualities of software? Sometimes some qualities I like to list it out. One is maintainability, another one is dependability, and portability and usability. These are all things we can expect from the software, right? Okay, then we are going to see some models. That's the thing we are going to highlight. That is the thing I like to show it in a slide. Please all of you watch that. Yes, these are the things we are going to see now. First introduction, then definition, then pinpoints, then kinds, then 4 attributes of good software, then the process model things, right? Okay, what is a software again? A software is a product. A software is a vehicle for delivering a product. A software is engineered, but it is not manufactured. And we say there are many kinds of softwares like real-time softwares, business softwares, web-oriented softwares, artificial intelligence softwares, embedded softwares, personal softwares. There are many softwares are there, right? What is the definition? Clear definition as per the book. Software engineering is concerned with the practicalities of developing and delivering software. So simple point is, we can apply a discipline, or we can maintain, or we can manage, or we can preserve the discipline towards a task. That is the thing of what is a software engineering is. Otherwise, a software is a separated one, engineering is a separated one. Once if it is collided, or once if it is integrated, then the discipline is enriched, or then the discipline is maintained. That's all. What is the definition is, right? What is the phases? The first phase, what is about the abbreviation of SDLC is Software Development Life Cycle. In this, the SDLC includes 5 phases. One is analysis, then design, implementation, testing, maintenance, and review. Right. In analysis, what are things happen? In analysis, we are going to prepare the statement of work. That is called, the problem statement is defined clearly. So for that, the system analyst is involved, and the system analyst's job is to cleanse to find what is the real prerequisites for a requirement. It is a very tough one, and it is a very hectic one for them. Normally, there are 2 kinds of requirements are there. One is functional requirement, and another one is non-functional requirement. Here, if a consumer can in need of some expectation, for that we need to create the problem statement. Once the problem statement is generated, then we can get the problem definition, that is PD. First, the statement of work is called as problem statement, then the PD is defined as the problem definition. So once the statement is clear, then the problem definition is also get it as. Then we can prepare a checklist for a product. Then finally, at the utmost, we can prepare the OBS, or what we call organizational breakdown structure, and the work breakdown structure is developed. From this 2, we can analyze who are all involved in that particular work of project, and what is their actual role, what is their actual designation, and what is their actual package. These are all decided, and what is their actual stipulated time is fixed for this work. These are all decided in this analysis part, in this 2 part. Then the last portion, that is the final outcome, is they prepare the software requirement specification, that is I mentioned here as SRS, software requirement specification, right? So these are things happen in analysis. Then we move on to design. There are 2 kinds of design involved. One is low level design, another one is high level design. What is low level design? The other name of low level design is preliminary design. The other name of HLD, that is high level design, is detailed design. In this low level design, the example diagram what we have nowadays in emerging trend is, that is context flow diagram, that is CFD. In high level design, we can extrapolate the things by using the data flow diagram, that is DFD. Nowadays, we have one another diagram we call as UML, that was purely energized by the Rational Rose Corporation, that is we call as UML, that is Unified Modeling Language. It carries of 9 diagrams, and nowadays it is in practice, right? Then we move on to see the next phase activity, that is implementation. That is the 3rd phase activity. In this, the construction of LOCs happen. The construction of LOC means lines of code. Construction of LOC means lines of code is generated. For the lines of code, they can choose any backend or they can choose any front end, whatever they wish, according to the expert level people. There are three levels of people involved in this implementation part. One is the strategic level people, another one is tactical level people, and third one is what you call operation level people. The strategic level people, they are the top level managers. They can make decisions and they can fix what is the real front end, what is the real back end is applicable for the problem. Then the next level tactical people, they are the project leads. They can choose whether the technology what the strategic planner chooses right one or wrong one. They can make a decision here. And the last one, operational team, they are the real transaction providers, or they are the real transition processing system providers. So they are all the real workers. They can work and they can write a code and they can just send it to tactical team, and finally the tactical team send it to the strategic team. This is the scenario behind how the construction of LOCs happen, right? And finally, after creating a shoot, after creating LOC, the shoot is developed. What is shoot? SUITE. Shoot means that is a platform. Once the code is generated, we can create an IDE. The best example of shoot is IDE, Integrated Development Environment, that is created at the end after the construction of LOC. Then we can do it all the things. So this is the thing happening in implementation. Then the fourth one is testing. It is a very important vital activity. Without testing a product, we can't move, or without getting the SQA, Software Quality Assurance Certificate, we can't energize to move our product for the release towards the goal. So for that we need testing to find or to detect the flaws. Testing is used to find or detect the errors. Or there is one scenario is allowed, there is one scenario is followed, we never get an error prone or a bug free software in the market. What is the scenario is, the failure is all noticed in this testing. So testing is need to be considered in more concise. We can give more importance for testing team or testing phase. So in this there are two kinds of testing. One is manual testing, another one is automation testing. In manual testing we have more types like unit testing, integration testing, system testing, acceptance testing, smoke testing, stress testing. There are many kinds of testings are there. These are all manually did. So parallelly we notice one thing from this. For doing manual work, it takes enormous time of completing the checking or completing of verification. Then once nowadays we are in automation testing, most of the big companies like CMO level 5 companies, they can hire this automation software tools. It is of more cost. The best examples of automation testing tools are Windrunner, LoadRunner, Qt Pixel Test. There are many softwares are there. By this software, they can plunge the code inside the software and they can load the software, they can load the coding, then they find what are the errors are there. So it is it's a fraction of, within a fraction of millisecond, they can detect what are the flaws and errors in that particular software. So a big companies can hire this because it carries more cost, right? There are two principles applied in testing. One is verification, another one is validation. A verification is a tough activity. Why means, if a project consumes 10,000 lines of code, whether we can detect an error from the 10,000 lines of code means it is not an easy joke. It is not easy work. For that, a verification needs to carry a job by one line. That is, by unit testing we can check one by one. So detecting or finding error is a curious activity. Finding error is the toughest one. But after finding we can detect it. So once we find, that is verification. Once after we find, we can detect, that is called validation. This is about the principle we can use, and the overall role behind the testing phases to remove the bottlenecks in a software. What does bottlenecks means? Whatever problem arises, knowingly or unknowingly, these are all identified by this testing phase. So this phase, testing team needs to be considered and takes the product and they can check in all around, check the product in all aspects. Then they find the errors without flaws, right? Fifth one, that is about maintenance and review. In this maintenance, most probably we can help the consumers after purchasing. Normally this maintenance review carries post-mortem or the delivery or the release of product. In that, the servicing is also one of the part. The servicing is missing in many companies. That is why the people or the consumers can't come again to get the next project to the same concern. The consumers wish to get the servicing. So once the company is giving servicing, they can hire the next project, or they can hire the next problem solution from the same concern. Then once the product is delivered, once the product is released, or once the product is post-mortem, they are giving three things to the consumer. One is user manual, troubleshooting guide, and last one is installation guide. These are all helps the consumer of their own to find whether the error is detected, or whether even though the error is detected at the time of installation or at the time of working, they can detect and they can resolve themselves. For that, the three things are given: user manual, troubleshooting guides, and installation guide. Finally, they provide training. The concern can provide training for the end users if they wish. Hands-on training to them. These are all the things as the phases. These are all the 5 phases activities involved in all models. This is a base. This is the base for a software engineering. If they ask software engineering what is the phases, this is the 5 phases involved, and these are the 5 activities is involved, events are involved, actions are involved, states are involved. With thereof only we can see what is the thing present in each model, which model consumes this all activity, right? This is about the pinpoints of SDLC. Next, we want to see the kinds of software. Just now, I think before I give the introduction, what is generic? Again, I'm going to not to repeat. The next, the 4 attributes of good software: maintainability, meet changing needs. The product need to meet the changing needs. That means a product has a necessity of notice the future enhancements. Whether a future enhancements is satisfied by this maintainability or not. Next, dependability. Whether a software provides the trustworthiness. For example, if I am giving an input A, then I need to expect the output as B, but if the output is not expected to be considered as B, then the software fails to reveal the result in a prompt manner. That is about trustworthy. Then what is efficiency? That is the third quality. System resources did not to be wasted. While because of installing the software, that resources need not to be wasted, then we say it is about efficiency. What is usability? It will be used for the users in a user friendliness. This is about the qualities of software. Now we are going to see the process model introduction. The process model mainly includes these phases, that is requirement phase, design phase, implementation phase, test phase, installation and checkout phase, operation and maintenance phase. Sometimes we call this retirement phase. These are the base behind the phases model for any process models, right? Now there are types. We are going to see now the types of software process model. We are going to see 10 models. One is build and fix model, second one waterfall model, third one incremental process model, fourth one iterative enhancement model, and fifth one RAD model, and sixth one evolutionary process model, and seventh one prototyping model, and eighth one spiral model, then ninth one unified process model, and last one COCOMO model. Let me see one by one about the detail of each model and its activity. And this all model has a base of the SDLC. This all model have a base of its SDLC, right? Let me all fix this mind first. First model, what is the build and fix model is? Just look at this picturization or depiction. What do you understand about this? The answer is very simple. They can build the code and they can fix it. The best example for this diagram I can say is writing a function and loading it in any program. You can write a function in C and you can write the coding in anywhere. Once the coding is written in one platform and it is running anywhere, that is about the build code and can fix. This build code and fix option or phase did not bother about the specification, did not bother about the design, did not bother about anything. At that time, what is the real need is expected, for that they prepare a code, they can use it off. The best example for this build and fix model is reusable components. Reusable components or reusable tools. This all comes under the category of build and fix model. So we don't bother about specification and design, all those things. So here, this approach we call this ad hoc approach. That means it is an imagined approach. We don't finalize that strictly we need a specification or strictly we don't need a design, all those things. This is about the build and fix model is. Here, normally we used to use this model for a more than 200 lines of code. It won't accept it for more than 200 lines of code. Simply we say, normally as a student, they can write a code, they can write a logic, they can write a simple programming for more than 100 lines. For that only the build and fix code is used. Simply we say they can write a function and they can apply the function in anywhere wherever they wish. Then normally we use this simple build and fix model for like a what do you call? You can use this particular build and fix model in a particular product for some process or some purposes. Most of the time this build and fix model met me failure. Because if the consumer, if the layman can ask some problem to be considered, at that time the built and fixed model is not to be a supportive one. This model is only applicable for to deliver or to control a rest of the work, or for a specific purpose only we can develop this built and fixed model. That is why this model can controls only 200 lines of codes, or less than 200 lines of code. This is about the built and fixed model is. Next model, software lifecycle process model, is about waterfall model. This is the oldest fashion model that was evergreen, followed by the companies. That is about in the early 1980s itself onwards they can follow this waterfall model. The other name of waterfall models are classic lifecycle model, or sometimes we call it as linear sequential model. Simply, this is all the phases they generated. First phase, the first activity in waterfall model is analysis and specification, second design, third implementation, integration and system testing, and final one is operation maintenance. So once you look out of all models, the base is what? That is SDLC. That is followed, that is applied. So here, what is the thing goes on for waterfall model? This, just look out what is the scenario about the waterfall model. This water flows downwards. There is not upward arrow here. That means we won't make any changes. Once the analysis is made, then it is forced to design. Once the design is completed, it forces the activity to implementation. Once the implementation is completed work, it forces to integration. Like that goes from the downward. So if I make any change, or if I need any change to be applied, this model is not worth for it. That is the drawback of waterfall model. But most companies, most big CM5 companies, they used to follow this waterfall model for a base, but they considers the rest of the models time beingly. That is why this model, a waterfall model, is followed, but it is not followed completely. That's all, right? This is about the waterfall model. And this waterfall model, once the requirement is more clear, then the rest of things is taken into consideration. That is why we are going to draw one Gantt chart for this waterfall model. That Gantt chart extrapolates the scheduling of each phase time or each phase duration. In that, the requirements phase or analysis phase takes enormous time. That means the partial amount of time, or the 1/4 of time, is taken by this analysis part. But the rest of the time is given to the analysis phase, another phases. This is the scenario behind this waterfall model. Once they consider as a base model, but they don't follow this as a complete model. This is the point you need to be highlighted. Right. Next, this is about the stories behind a waterfall model. What are the problems of waterfall model? The problems is, it is difficult to define all requirements at the beginning of project because changes are inevitable. You all know that. What is changes are inevitable? Changes is vital. Changes is content dynamic. That means at any cost, at any time, the consumers can set their mindset to the next thinking. So we don't accept, or we don't able to satisfy the consumers in all aspect. That is why we say we never able to satisfy the consumers for 100% satisfaction, or we never say we don't satisfy the consumers as a user friendliness. These are all the words why we say means because they have the changes, they need to make a changes periodically, occasionally, as well as seasonally. This is for that this waterfall model is not the best model. Next, this model is not suitable for accommodating any change. Just now we saw that. A working version of system is not seen until late in the project's life. So what is the meaning is, once a cluster of requirements is analyzed and fixed, for that we are going to start the work, we are going to give the end. There is no versioning in waterfall model. This is also another drawback of waterfall model, right? These are all the things we need to get as a point behind the waterfall model, right? Then it doesn't scale up well for large projects. Normally we can divide a project into two kinds. One is mini project and large project and ad hoc projects. That is long haul project, LONGHAUL. What does this long haul project means? This project is applicable for a mini project, a student project. For that, this waterfall model is a base we followed. We can consider, we can sense what is the requirement. For that we are going to working. But this is not applicable for a long haul project. That means a project doesn't have end time, or a project doesn't have a stipulated duration. For that kind of big projects, endless requirement project, for that this waterfall model is not supportive. This is all the disadvantages of waterfall model, right? Then we go on to the third process model, that is incremental process model. What is the theme, or what is the intent behind this incremental process model? This incremental process model, by the name itself we say it carries the work incrementally, or it did the work incrementally. What is the meaning? How this all happen? Normally here also this increment model supports all the phases, but it carries a set of requirement, then it starts the design, then it starts the implementation, then the testing is completed, then it release. Then it is a one increment, then it is a one version. Then like that it goes on for n version till the consumers get into satisfied. So by increment, they are going to start and separate the work. For example, if the work is a huge, if the work is a, if the work is in big nature, or if the work is in a big size of work, or if I have to consider of 1,000 requirements for my project, whether I can able to consider all the 1,000 requirements within a time, it is not possible. For that, they just separate into 20 requirements. For 20 set of requirements, they start the analysis work, they complete the design work, they complete the implementation work, then testing, then release. Like that it goes on, but they won't do the activity of releasing since all the increment is completed. So here, the modularity is a principle is applied in incremental process model. What is a modularity? If a work is allotted, for example, if a work is allotted, that work is need to be divisible into a smaller units. That means smaller units in the sense we can use a software or we can devise the work into separate team. For example, in a team, 30 pupils are working, 30 personals are working, PERSONNELS. 13 personals are working. In the 13 peoples, we can divide the work into separate. For that we use to this incremental model. So a work is separated and the work is devised and the result is getting off. So we say it is a result proven model. It is a result proven or it is an event driven model. We can say it in another word. So increment by increment we can complete the work in a partial manner. Finally we completed the work in a deadline, within a deadline. That is where concentration, and parallelly we can support, we can concentrate on all the work, because we can assign one increment to the set of people, we can assign with a second increment to the second level of people. Like that it goes on parallelly, all the works are consolidated. Finally it is a product. Finally we say, then we can move to the next model, that is called iterative enhancement model. From the word we can say it is the process is in iterative manner. What is called iteration? Iteration means step by step activity or step by step process. Here the model has same phase like a waterfall model, but some restrictions are there. The restriction is they can start to analyze just look at this picture, that get an understanding of what is this iterative enhanced model is. The same phase activities like waterfall model, but this arrow resemblances one point, there may be a revision, there may be a reconciliation, there may be a refinement. This is a this overcoming the waterfall model into the next level. The waterfall model is a failure model, but the waterfall model is a base for all the model, but this iterative enhancer model tries to enhance each phase activity. That we call as revisioning, or that we call as refining, that we call as reconciliation. This is about the iterative enhancer model tells about. Then the fifth model, that is called RAD model, Rapid Application Development Model. RAD, from the word we say rapidly we can do the work. Once the consumers are in a tension mode or in a faster manner to get the result, for that team the RAD model is applied. A RAD model is applied when the consumers are in a hurry. For that we can use this RAD model as a technique. This was developed by the IBM in the year 1980s. Here the one involvement is involved here. The rest of the activities, like the rest of the models we saw, that is enhancement iterative model or a waterfall model or a build and fix model, there we don't involve the users directly, but here in RAD model we can involve the users, right? That means the stakeholders are involved. Who is a stakeholder? A stakeholder, one who directly or indirectly involved in the particular product to be prepared, they all comes and involved and they give the suggestions parallelly while the product is prepared. This is all the power of what is this RAD model is. Just look at this scenario of diagram and finally we can analyze what is the real usage of this RAD model is. This was the scenario created by IBM for to understand that this scenario tells one story. The story is the consumers can't able to tell what is their real problem is. They are in problem, but they don't know what is the real problem is. So through questionnaires, through the observations, through the surveys, through the interviews, through the inspections, we can suggest that this is their real need, because actually their state, the consumer status, they are all laymen, they are all novice people. The novice didn't know what is the actual problem is. As a consumer, as a developer, we go and find what is the real problem from them. So this RAD model helps you to, get the real problem from the consumers. Get the real problem from the consumers. That is the power of this RAD model. Two important things we can discuss here in RAD model. One is user participation is involved. Another one is we can raise more number of structured and unstructured questionnaires to get what is the real problem from their mindset, or what is the real expectation. These are all things we can empower by this RAD model. This is the power of RAD model, right? Then here, what is the workflow activities in RAD model? First, they build a rapid prototype. Actually, what is the general meaning of prototype is, a prototype is a model. It's a template, or it is a pattern, or it is a framework. That pattern is generated, that pattern is developed, and that pattern is going for suggestion. If it is good, they can nudge it. Otherwise, they can reject it. If it is good, they can nudge it. Otherwise, they can reject it. This is all the rapid prototype is used, and the prototype is refined. This is a diagram tells about the requirements plan and user description is constructed, then the constraint is going on, then cut over. This means this RAD model started the application in a faster manner, in an aggressive manner. They can aggressively accept what is the requirement is by raising the questions, right? This is about the information of what is a RAD model is, right? Then next we see about what is a evolutionary process model is. What is the power of evolutionary process model is? This is resemblance simply like an iterative enhancement model, but here the point is, here we don't take a priority is important, but we take a category is important. What means the evolution development requirements are implemented by category rather than by priority. But in iterative enhancement model, it purely detects or purely consoles everything via priorities of requirements. But here, the categories of requirements get to consider. That's the only difference between this evolutionary process model and the iterative enhancement model. Then, actually, this model is used for projects using new technology that not well understood. So, here the appliance of the new emerging trends can able to apply in this evolutionary process model. But if you take a iterative enhancement model, they can console, they can get satisfied within the work, and they can refine it, they can finally consider as that is a satisfactory work level. But here they can apply a new techniques, they can make a category wise. They didn't bother about the result proven. They didn't bother about the result proven in the sense they never bother about whether the product is completed state or not. They keep on making updation, they keep on applying updation, they keep on applying the emerging trend towards the product, and finally they release within. For example, if they applied through this evolution process model for any project, normally it will be delivered, it carries a minimum of 1 year to consider. And in the 1 year also, they can keep on changes to apply a new trend towards that particular product. This is the drawback, as well as this will be one kind of goodness we can notice from this evolution process model as applying a new technology. Then, this is the diagram tells about the outline description is given, then specification, development, validation is going on, and initial version is developed, and intermediate version is generated, finally the version is developed. So it really takes more than a year. Finally the final version is released. So these are all in the beta version state. These are all the beta version state. Finally the alpha version is generated. So within the concern itself, they can check, they can run the product for checking, but they don't release the thing for market. They don't release the thing for the worldwide to be used. This is the thing happen in evolutionary process model. Then we go for see the prototype model. It purely tells about it is not a model to complete a product. It is a model to be developed for a construction work. That is the implementation phase. This model renders service for implementation phase. That means they used to create n number of usable small programs that may be as a reusable component for the LOC to be energized. For example, I am going to create an LOC. There we need to be noticed about the logical constructs. Many logical constructs are there involved in a LOC, that is lines of code. That means a logical construct carries out of three things, that is decisions is involved, iterations is involved, and conditions is also involved. So these three things are involved under a simple logic. So people's prefer from any concern is about whether they have a business logic skill or not. That logic comes because of their creativity skill as well as their lateral thinking. So once the pupil PUPAL, that is the students have this kind of skills, that is about we call as prototype model. The prototype is generated to develop a product, but it is not used to complete the product. It is used only in LOC generation, right? This is the things as a story we can give it in prototype model. Then this is the diagram behind this. Just look at the same thing again and again, but the point behind the prototype model is generate a prototype that is a model, and that model helps the service for this implementation directly. And this model is applied for only implementation that will be reflected in all the phases or all the activities. This is the thing happening in the prototype model. A prototype, a model, a template, a pattern is generated, right? In that there are two kinds of pattern is involved. One is an anti-pattern, another one is a worst pattern, and another one is a best pattern. So a pattern, if they applied by more trial version or more trial manner, finally they find what is the real pattern, what is the real prototype is applied for this implementation to be considered. So already this is all available. Already everything is available nowadays. From the net we can take everything. That is called as, we can say, is the commercial of the shelf product. The best example package we called as Visual Basic or VB.NET. In VB.NET it is a framework. Normally we can use this word called case tools. These are all, we use the word called reusable components. So these are all comes under because of this prototype model. Whatever components are generated, these are all comes under this prototype model scheme, right? That's all. Then next one, that is about spiral model. This will be give the flexibility of considering the risks towards the product. What is risk? Risk is occurred in anywhere. For example, due to the current fluctuation, the devices get into problem. Due to the improper service, the devices get into problem. Whatever problems may be, but errors can be occurred from any time. That we call as disaster. So a spiral model disallows the risks. There is one plan is implemented in spiral model that is called RMM plan. That is risk mitigation, monitoring and management plan. The ultimate aim of this RMM plan is to find the risk and to mitigate the risk and to monitor the risk and to manage the risk. That means the curing the risk. This is the activity of what is the spiral model is. And the spiral model have more number of cycling. It's a cyclic approach. That means it starts from analysis and it ends with maintenance. Yes, just now we saw that about this RMM plan, that is risk mitigation, monitoring and management, and this plan has a contingency plan to remove the risk throughout the project. So whatever flaws we find it from the testing phase, before that, while in the initiation phase or while in the analysis phase itself, we can notice what are the errors can occur, how to incur that and how to restrict that, how to prevent that. These are all things, mechanisms we can involve in, applied in this risk planning. That is the power of what this spiral model is. And this spiral model have more number of revisioning, that is called, the cycles are more in number. If one iteration or if one cycle is not met into the satisfaction, then it reaches the next level, then it reaches the next cycle, like that it goes on up to n cycling. So the main two important thing we notice in spiral model is it has a cyclic approach, and the second thing is it removes the risk. We apply the risk factor towards this product, towards this model, and this was developed by Barry Boehm in the year 1986. Right. Next one, this is a diagram expresses the whatever we saw about an explanation. Then next thing, this is for any, there are some 4 phases involved in spiral model. One is planning, another one is risk analysis and development, then assessment. What is planning? Here we can determine what is the real objective. The scope of objective is made into more clear because of the surveys made. Then alternatives for the particular scope, alternative for the particular prerequisites, then the constraints, that mean conditions, what is applied for the objectives. So 3 things involved in the planning. Then risk analysis, it is a very important factor. It is to be involved in this spiral model. It is analyze the alternative and attempts to identify and resolve the risk involved. Whatever risks or what are the problems incurred while the objectives finding, that is all removed in this risk analysis. For example, I am telling what is a risk analysis example is the cost analysis. For example, if a cost, for example, if some set of cost is fixed for some set of activities, if that is going beyond the limit, then at that time this risk factor is applied, and that is make that particular appliance to restrict the errors or restrict the problems. Then what is about the development? This development phase used to develop the product and testing the product. Finally the customer evaluation is happen. These are the 4 phase involved in spiral model. Then, and what is about this will be the most important model followed by any companies for to it is a more user friendly model to help or to render the service in consumers in all aspect, because the one and only reason is the problem is detected earlier, not later. That is the only motto behind this spiral model is. Right, these are things we can see. Then the next model, that is about the unified process model, and this model was energized by three persons. One is Ivar Jacobson, James Rembach, and Grady Booch. These are the three methodology developers. Still, in nowadays we are strictly followed, or we are strictly dept with this unified process model. This method model we call as method wars. That's right, the method wars are generated to finalize which method is applicable for, or which terminology methodology is applicable for the process development. These are all things developed by these three peoples: Jacobson, Grady Booch, and James Rembach. Right, this is about, and this unified approach or the unified process model get accomplished by the diagram called UML, Unified Modeling Language, that was powered by Rational Software Corporation. Right, and these are the phases involved in unified process model. One is inception, elaboration, construction, and transition. In inception, we just define the objective of the project. In elaboration, the architect of the problem is detected, or the diagram representation is depicted. The diagram's depiction can be did by the flow chart, or else the context flow diagram, or else the system flow diagram, or else the data flow diagram, or else we call as the unified modeling language diagrams. Whatever diagrams they can take it as. So the architect of the problem is denoted in this elaboration. Then construction, here the operation capability maybe, that is called the construction of LOC is going on. Then transition is going on, that is release of the software product. A transition can envelopes with three things. One is state, event, and action. So these are all the things finally happens as a phase activity by this unified process. Then this is the explanation again. So I can left out this slides. So this is about the scenario happen for a single project. For example, if a project is considered, this phase activity is involved, then the V1 means version 1, then V2 means version 2, and V3 is version 3. So the first version is the initial development cycle. Like that, it is also has a principle called cycling of iterations of work. So this is about the things to be considered as a unified process model. The iterations and workflow of unified process like this. So the inception phase takes into consider, the elaboration phase takes into consider, the construction phase carries from one level to the n level, because this will be changed, the radical change in the product, that is construction phase. Then transition phase, that is about the releasing. Once if I made a changes as it's if a construction 1 is applied, then the transition 1 is finalized. If the construction 2 is applied, like the transition 2 is applied, like that it goes up to the n stages, n steps, right? This is the iterations and workflow activity of unified process. Then again, what is the outcome? What is the outcome of inception phase? We are going to see the outcome resultant of each phase. The inception phase, the result is we prepare a project plan, then the assessment risk strategy is developed, the business case is developed, and the initial project glossary is developed. Then we get the mission and vision of a product. These are all the things enclosed in the inception outcome. Next, elaboration phase. In this elaboration phase, what is the outcome? This is all the outcome of elaboration phase. This is the revised risk document is prepared, the complete set of architecture is developed. Already in introduction part, we can say about two diagrams. One is LLD and HLD, low level design, that simply tells about 3 C's. It simply accomplished under a 3 C's. One C is applicable for the concept. The next C is applicable for the context. Then third C is applicable for a content. So if the first 2 C's, that is concept and context, that is all did by this CFD diagram. If it is a content, it is a complete diagram that carries a full flow, that is a full flow state of actions we can notice, that is called data flow diagram. These are all the elaborations taken place. So this is about the outcome of the that particular elaboration phase. The third one, that is construction phase. In this, what is the outcome is? The outcome is like this: the test suite is developed, that is a platform. Because of writing the code, we can depend on the front end and back end tools. Finally, a test platform is generated, that is test suite. Then the release, the product is going for release. So at the time of release, they used to give user manuals, the operation manuals, like that. Whatever we saw in the earlier base, this is all to be considered. Next, what is the last phase? That is transition phase. What is the outcome of this transition phases? The outcome is the transition level is of 3 levels. One is user feedback, that is beta test report, the product release. So what is the 2 kinds of releases we can notice here. One is beta release, another one is alpha release. The beta release is released for the global and they expects the feedback from them or suggestions from them. The best example is before 4 years back we can say that Gmail is come under the category called beta. That means the suggestions are welcome and for the suggestion they can make a changes. Finally they released the alpha test that was did by the company itself. The company people can check it off in all aspects. Finally they release the product. There is no usage of word called beta and alpha. Finally the product is released, the product is delivered. This is the information we can notice. This is the outcome of transition phase. The last model, the very important model to be considered, that is called Kokomo model, that is cost constructive model. Without cost nothing can happen. Without cost nothing can move from here to there. A money takes place more important to be considered. So for to do the all product preparation, for the all product deliverance, we expect some money from the consumer. The consumers can bear the money for your product preparation. So what are things mainly considered in a cost is the observation of Kokomo is cost constructive model. The cost may be hardware and software cost, the cost may be the staffing cost, the cost may be travel cost, building a lightning cost. Like that we can, whatever things we can amend for whatever purpose, this all comes as a cost. So this may be an important model to be considered in the analysis phase itself. So while in analysis phase, the first phase of SDLC, the Kokomo model is also included, right? This is about the next thing. This is all the models to be discussed. So far we discussed 10 models, so out of which we can learn something about, right? How we can apply what you call life cycle models towards some strategies. Here we want to see some 3 strategies. How the selection is made. There are many models are there, 10 models are there, out of which model is select for which purpose. The selection mode is based on requirements, development team, users, then project time and associated risk. Here we have some illustrations for to understand about the summary of what we learned so far. From that how we are going to apply that here, right? This is based on characteristics of requirement, which model is an apt model for the product preparation to be considered. If you take, are requirements easily understandable or defined? If you take a model called waterfall model, it is yes, prototype no, like that. For each model, what is the response towards that? If you take, do we change requirements quite often? Whether which model supports that? Whether a waterfall model supports that or prototype it supports that, like that goes on. This information. Then, can we define requirements early in the cycle? What is this scenario is? What is the status is? STATUS. So, these are all the information tell about which model supports this queries. From this query, what is the real understanding behind of what is the involvement towards each model is, right? Development team, based on status of development team, what is the scenario is? Less experience on similar project is involved in the work means what is the model is apt model for the product preparation is. Less domain knowledge, what is the status is? Less experience on tools used, what is the status is? Availability of training, what is the status is? So this is the illustration status expresses which model is apt for this queries, right? Then based on user participation, which model is best? This is a question they raised. User involvement, limited user participation, this is a status for that. Then based on types of product, so what are the models restrict risk? We all know the one and only model, that is spiral model, restrict the risk, right? So this is about the scenario of status notice about which model supports of restricting the risk. Thank you.